Welcome to a QB Power Hour. Today we're going to be talking about what's new in QB Desktop 2021. So this is a rarity for the Power Hour because typically we tend to focus on what's new in QuickBooks Online. But last Monday, QuickBooks Desktop was launched, QuickBooks Desktop 2021. So we are going to just kind of highlight those new features, new and improved features in QuickBooks Desktop 2021. Today, we're not going to be joined by Michelle. Unfortunately, she had a death in the family, and so she's not going to be joining us today, but we do have some extra special guests joining us today. I am going to post on our Facebook group just a little message for Michelle. So if you are a member of the QB Power Hour Facebook group, which is close to 10,000 members, go in there and let Michelle know that you're thinking about her today. My name is Dan DeLong, and owner of DanWith, where we transform businesses through technology, formerly of Intuit for about 18 years, and technically editing QBO for Dummies 6th edition already. And working with a couple of folks that are joining us today. So Carrie is next. Carrie Kahn, we want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Carrie Kahn, and work with Dan on our project of School of Bookkeeping. I'm also advanced certified like Michelle with Desktop Online. We've been in this industry forever. I'm also a reseller, member of the Trainer Writer Network, as you can see all these things on here. So I'm really excited to be here. And as many know, I don't hide how much I love Desktop. So I'm happy to help and highlight some of these new features.
Your motto is desktop is not dead, right?
No, it's not. It's still a choice. Pick the right one for your customer.
Right. And we're also joined again by friend of the show, Matthew Fulton. Matt, introduce yourself for us.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matthew Fulton with Parkway Business Solutions, as well as a co-creator of the Facebook group QB Community Live with my good friend, Linda Artisanti. It's a group much like QB Power Hour. Well, the infant version of it, we're still growing, I should say. But it's based on the concept of Together We All Succeed. So I am honored to be on the QB Power Hour again for a second time. It's exciting to see, after so many years of everybody talking about desktop is dead, this revitalization of this product, which is so important to so many people.
Exactly. And now both of you are members of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. Now, does that involve what kind of interaction is that when do you do trainings, or do you write? Is it more focused on the writing part for you, or the training part for you?
For me, Sophie has about that apparently. For me, it's been more on the training side of it than anything else. I'm sorry, said that the wrong way. The writing side of it, it's creating articles, just sharing knowledge, everything else. I was one of the more recent people added to the Trainer Writer Network and haven't had much opportunity to conduct trainings where you would necessarily go out to do the trainings for some strange reason this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's happening.
And for me too, there's a lot of opportunities to write blogs, to do stuff within Intuit projects, and then trainings and classes and webinars. It's really covers the gamut of stuff. So it's a lot of opportunities and networking, and this year's been very unusual. So right. We can still do these things virtually, so the education can continue.
Exactly.
Real quickly, Dan, to add to it though, anybody who's interested in it, it has been one of the most beneficial things that I've ever been a part of. And truly what they look for is it's for people that are out there sharing their knowledge, willing to contribute. That's how you become seen and get the opportunity to be tapped on the shoulder for it. So it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, if you're as crazy and passionate about it, there's an application process and so forth, but it is, like you said, absolutely worth it.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you both for joining, especially on such short notice. So I really appreciate you both coming on. I was talking to Matt before we broadcast that it's kind of funny because this is like Matt's month to be on the QB Power Hour. We had on last time for the PPP with Hector, and then we did the same thing with his partner Linda in July, where she came on for QBO Advanced Roundtable, and then we talked about the niche nuances. So it's really funny about how things just kind of how we actually are a community of accountants, and I really again appreciate you both coming on today. So a little details about the upcoming QB Power Hour webinars. Of course, we talk about desktop and QBO tips and tricks, new features, plus marketing your practice. We actually have the schedule of events next month is actually all going to be focused around money movement. We're going to talk about the nebulous QuickBooks Cash account, and we'll have Relay come on to talk about some of the big business banking solutions that they have. And then sending and receiving money with Melio. And if nothing else, we'll figure out what is the actual pronunciation of Melio. Is it Melio? Is it Melio? That will be the takeaway with nothing else for that one. And then we've got some other things scheduled here. You have the PDF of the slides is available there on that link there. I know we've been getting a lot of feedback about I can't get to the slides, and we're working on that. Actually, today's update I put it in by the day, so you should be able to see it by the date. That's the first part of the name of the slide. So if you go to the link there, you should be able to see the slides available there. There's recordings of the prior webinars as well as the podcast. So some new announcement, actually with the QB Power Hour this week, we're going to be launching our brand new website. So we're going to have a searchable archive, the upcoming webinar calendar, so that if you need to know what's upcoming, it should go live this Thursday. So I didn't want to have that show up, mid this webinar cycle. We'll also have an email newsletter. So Michelle and I are going to be writing a little bit more content, and that will be part of the email newsletter as well. So our agenda today, the way we're going to kind of focus this is based on the features that are already in 2020. Some of those things were released midstream. They call them slipstream updates. So we'll talk about those features. Then we'll talk about, and it'll all be cumulative. So your features that are in all versions of QuickBooks Desktop, and then features that are in desktop subscriptions. That's a big change this year with regards to the subscription model that Intuit is rolling out, and then features that are in QuickBooks Accountant Edition, and then the Enterprise Platinum and Diamond versions of QuickBooks. So first thing is our first poll. What version of QuickBooks are you using? So we'll go ahead and launch that. And while people are answering that, I did want to mention also, if you have any questions for any of us, put them in the Q&A section of the Zoom chat bar there, or Zoom control bar at the bottom, rather than the chat, because sometimes that just keeps it scrolls by, and it's really harder to answer the questions. So if you do have any questions, throw them in the Q&A section, and then we can share those answers with everyone. Matt or Carrie, do you have any thoughts about, I mean, in your practice, do you use both, or do you focus on one or the other?
So, well, I use Enterprise. I absolutely love Enterprise, but with our partner program, we support both and help with both. So I don't use QBO on a daily basis, but I just love my Enterprise. I wish I could vote.
How amazing was it though that the responses, like the both just went boosh, like immediately like launched off. And we use both here. Our primary is QuickBooks Online, but we absolutely use desktop environment. We've actually had a pretty substantial increase in the number of desktop clients we've taken this year for some reason.
Interesting. So let me go ahead and close the poll here, and we'll share the results. So yes, so 79% of you use both, and 19% desktop only. So there are some folks with QuickBooks Online as well that are solely in here. So I appreciate you coming today to find out what's on the other side of what's on the other side of the hard drive in this case. All right. So first thing we want to talk about is what's up with the price with QuickBooks Desktop this year, because that was a little bit of a surprise because of the shift that that Intuit is encouraging, and I'm using that word lightly, subscription-based pricing for their software. So, and this really kind of ties off against, you know, just the way the industry is, you know, the software industry is in general. I know when I worked there in 2008, they always they wanted to subscribe to this model of software as a service, because they don't sell software, they sell licenses to software. So so this is just a way to tie that in as a software as a service. And that's with the Plus edition. And that is going to be causing more confusion because there is a version of QuickBooks Online called Plus. And now there is, well, there always has been this Plus option with desktop. This is just making a little bit more of a resurgent with this year's version of QuickBooks. So it's the way they're encouraging this is by increasing the cost of the one-time license. You can still buy it, right, Carrie? I mean, as a reseller, you do have the ability to do that. So the one-time fee for the license has gone up, but in the Plus subscriptions, those are a little lower, you know, to encourage that to be able to do that. So that's an annual subscription. And to also encourage that, Plus subscriptions include extra services. So the data backup, the Intuit Data Protect is included, and that's not just for the data file. You can back up other things as well. So if you have online backup subscriptions, Carbonite, you know, this may replace that for you or your clients. And then the customer care, which will answer the how do I questions. We're not going to talk about the good, bad, or indifferent, but you do have that option to call. Mostly, you know, what I put there for HDI is the how do I, you know, types of how do I handle this. You don't necessarily want to call them about how do I run my business. That's where we come in, right, as advisors, right?
You know, Dan, ever since you've been gone, that HDI is just not the same. I mean,
It's not.
masterful touch point was just so great. And one thing to just remind everybody, the US, when it comes to subscriptions, we are the last ones out there that are now moving over towards a subscription-based model for desktop. And a lot of the different countries all have to do it monthly for some time now, for a couple of years.
And just to also mention so we got, it was announced on Monday that, you know, it was released on Monday. And the price difference, it's not quite 3 times as much, but the one-time purchase only usually keeps you about 3 years, and then you have to upgrade. So they literally, our cost for the Pro it used to be $184, it's now $359.99. So that's very expensive. And for the Plus, if you get the subscription, which covers a year, $149.95. So I just tripled that price to see, you know, you save $100. So you've got to decide what's right for you, but don't be afraid of subscription. Enterprise has been doing it for, I think, like 5 or 6 years. It's literally the same thing. So you can, you know, put it on your local machine, but in the background, the technology is so it can see if you really have a subscription. And if you don't, if you're not active, it'll lock you out. But don't be afraid of it. And you get, as we're going to go through, you get a couple bells and whistles extra using it. So it's time to embrace the subscription, because Intuit is making it financially better for you too.
Yeah, you'll get the latest version. So just like you know, Patricia asked in the Q&A, does this replace the ProAdvisor program? This Plus
No.
does not replace the ProAdvisor program. This is for end users of your clients. They can purchase QuickBooks Pro Plus, or they can purchase QuickBooks Premier Plus, and then that is the annual subscription cost, and it's inclusive of the data backup, the included support. You get the latest version, so when you have an active Plus subscription, and 2022 comes out next year, it'll automatically be associated with their account. They don't have to install 2022 in order to continue to use it. If they like the 2021 and they don't want to don't feel the need to update, learn something new. There's new products or new features in that version. If they don't want to, they don't have to, but they'll have access to it. And then there's discounted hosting. They get discounts on hosting. And then this year, they're including a subscription-only feature to also incentivize the going into the adopting the Plus or the software as a service option. So yeah, it doesn't change the cost. I mean, it doesn't replace anything. It's just a different purchasing option for QuickBooks Desktop. So we'll talk first about the features that are in 2020 that are in the latest version or the latest release of 2020, and also being billed as new features in 2021. So the PDF preview for emailing forms, there's improved liability reminders, simplified the payroll setup, and QB capital funding. So the PDF preview for emailing forms, so you don't have to look, you don't have to see what attachments look like after they've been emailed. You can do that right now within QuickBooks Desktop. When you go to email them, there's an option there to see the attached files, and you can preview anything that is being attached to the email, rather than look in your outbox or CC yourself. What actually did that look like? And that's for not just the invoices or transactions that you're actually emailing, but also for any attachments that you might be sending along with them as well. There is improved liability reminders, and you can integrate your payroll reminders with an email calendar now. Now this is only for desktop, when you have a desktop email client. And what I mean by that is if you have Outlook or an email program that has a calendar associated with it, like if you're using Gmail, webmail based email, it's probably not going to work that way, because it has to detect that there is a default email on your computer. So you can create an email or a reminder for yourself inside the calendar to be able to make sure that you don't forget to do your liability payments or do your tax forms, because late fees are awesome, aren't they, Matt?
I personally try to rack up as many of them as I can. I find it's a great way to use my money.
Right.
One thing to add that you're showing on the screen here, which is great, you were talking about the cloud-based like email programs. If you use the Windows Mail program, you can actually link in your Google email, and it runs through that type of a desktop app, and it should be able to kind of connect to it and give you some hybrid aspect of it. But yeah, it's definitely, it's stuck to the desktop. It doesn't have Icarus's wings to go to the cloud to give the reminders there.
Good deal. Now there's also simplified payroll setup. So there's less steps in the payroll setup. I mean, this has always been a nebulous thing when you launch the payroll setup, and then there's only 42 steps to set up the payroll, because I mean, you need to set up payroll correctly, so you want to make sure that those steps aren't missed. But now it's consolidated, and you can invite your employee to fill in their personal payroll information, much like in QBO when you invite a contractor to enter in their 1099 information. They can do that stuff on their end, and then it feeds back into QuickBooks Desktop. So shared and leveraged options of being able to set up your payroll properly. And there is a simplified paycheck entry as opposed to the detail of this huge Excel spreadsheet of historical paychecks. So there's a basic and advanced when you're setting up payroll now in QuickBooks Desktop. Capital funding. If you don't know, QuickBooks Capital is a way to provide or increase cash flow by getting a short-term loan with QuickBooks Capital, and you can now access that from within QuickBooks, and as well as use the QuickBooks data to help secure those short-term loans. So it makes it easier to apply because the data's already in QuickBooks to be able to get those short-term loans inside of QuickBooks Desktop now.
What a great resource for revenue, right? Like for funds right now, as we're still expanding and working our way out of everything, PPP related. This is another way for businesses to utilize their current sales to kind of extend their runway and build back up their business. So it's great.
Absolutely. So we're going to now dive into the actual features of 2021. So the biggest thing this year is the improved bank feeds. And we'll actually have Matt kind of take the lead on that. We'll talk about the new customer groups, which leads into other features of automating the statements, customizing, and you'll be able to customize payment receipts. Finally, some of these things are what took you so long features.
Yay.
And then talk about the auto matching for merchant payments. And there's some tools that are available in with kind of coinciding with the launch of 2021 that we'll talk about as well. So yes, improved bank feeds. It looks more like QBO, but doesn't necessarily work so much like QBO, as Matt and I were talking a little bit before the show.
Well, baby steps, got to get there one day, right?
Right. So I'm going to stop sharing so that Matt can kind of take over here and show what he's been working on over the weekend with regards to the bank feeds.
So, the good old saying, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it probably is. It's not a QBO duck, definitely. I mean, they look like the QBO bank rules, but it's a great improvement, and it's definitely much easier to look at with the eyes. But there are still some areas I think that will be exciting to see it evolve a little bit over time. Most of the functionality is pretty much exactly the same. Now, what I've done here so we could show is we've got some fake data in a fake company file, and gives you the ability to kind of get a true feel for this. I have to say, my absolute favorite part about the new setup here is the search function right here. Having the search function gives you the ability that you can start to type anything in, like I can do coffee. And if I search it, it will shrink down to just whatever will match to those, to whatever I'm searching. So if you're doing a large rebuild of data, this becomes a very quick way to be able to come in, select all, which that's probably my second favorite feature, is the select all button finally. And you can then quickly go in and modify these different transactions. You can update and modify them, of course. Now, on the rules side of it, once you start establishing rules, you can see the way this is set up. The rule creation, this is the one area that I think still needs to be evolved a little bit more over the next couple of years, is the way that they're actually handling the rules and the way that they're set up. It's still very, it's like QuickBooks Online, but the way it's structured, it just doesn't give enough control to it. I personally feel like there's a little bit faster ways to go about it. You have, of course, the ability to name your rule. You can have your money in, money out, as we all know from QBO. And then when transactions meet all or any, I will tell you, whenever we see problems with rules in QBO, this is the area they almost always land in, almost every single time. So if you're using this in desktop, keep an eye towards that. And now you've got the ability for the memo, the description, memo being your bank memo, of course, description being the description that shows up. And those are two different things in a bank downloadable file, of course, as well as amount. So you can really fine tune these rules by adding extra lines onto the information. My favorite example of stuff like this is using something like amount, and you can actually do is equal or greater to for like ATMs. So you could do, if it says ATM withdrawal, you could do amount is greater than $39.99 and less than $60. Take and do the first portion to X amount, and then the remaining amount goes to, as a split, goes to like bank fees. So having the ability to kind of do these multiple layers really helps quite a bit. Now, what it's doing, of course, as we all know, is it's going through the memos and trying to find the details so it can start to apply different rules automatically inside of here. And once you have them recognized, all you have to do is come in and you're going to go either, change them up or just do add and confirm. Now, these are older ones because I was setting this up. So I'm going to say, yeah, forget the fact it's 90 days, pulls them all in automatically, and I can go back to my unrecognized, but I can still see them from this session in the added to register also, which is really, really great.
Yeah, this is really, in general, I mean, like really high level kind of stuff. It was always, as QBO kind of came out, there was always that, yeah, but it does this in desktop. Bank fees is one of those things that QBO is kind of, the roles are reversed. It doesn't do a lot of things in the desktop that bank feeds do in QuickBooks Online. And so it's kind of neat to see some of these things finding their way back into desktop.
I agree with you. For the longest time, I've always seen it as people specifically moved from desktop to online because they wanted that power of automation. They wanted those bank feed capabilities, which, quick short plug, that's what led us to create Vendor Sync, was something very similar to this, where it's that ability to take the power of the bank rules and make a hybrid solution for desktop, so people don't have to choose between the two. So this is a great improvement. And again, this search function is just so powerful. If you look at any of Hector's videos, Seth David's videos, videos I do on this stuff, if you sort by a bank memo, you get all the notifies next to each other. You can very quickly, instead of having to come in and click one at a time, you could filter down and change them in batches and bulks, and you just start getting through the stuff super fast. It's great.
Now, there's that section of partially recognized. What shows up in there? Have you seen what will be partially? Is it part of a rule, or is it just not quite sure what to make of it when you see a transaction in there?
From what I've seen so far, and I've been playing with it, trying to, number one, break it and figure out ways to make it work better. It's when you have these different, as you start adding more and more rules in, you'll see that I don't have tons in here at the moment, but as you have more rules, the partially recognized is where it's uncertain about something. So if there's, if you already had, let's say you had somebody in the office that's cutting checks and you don't want rules to take over, you need to have those auto matched first. But if you also have the rules, everything else, what will happen is they're going to be uncertain. So this is not a fully recognized. You can review it there instead first to make sure kind of the level of uncertainty. So hopefully that helps answer that question.
Yeah, it's just to kind of point out that there is like that no man's land between recognized and unrecognized, that where it could be partially recognized in the new bank feeds. And one might think there's a lot of wasted real estate up there at the top, but since you only have one bank account listed here, those tiles will actually fill in for each individual account for that particular financial institution. So they, you might actually see multiple ones show up there as you have more banks, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Again, fake data, making it to where we can share it openly out to the world. We only have the one account in this fake file, but yes, now you actually would have everything in one space. So you don't have to exit out of this, go to another account to then open that up and then make the different changes into that account. You can, much like QBO, go from each of the different accounts all within the same environment, of course.
Right. And now it doesn't actually do it automatically like QuickBooks Online does. So we're not there yet. It still needs to be initiated. Either the connection is still the same, right? You have to go out, get the bank's feed, download the transactions or the file to bring in to QuickBooks, or if you've connected it directly, you can hit the button and then it'll go out and update your accounts, right?
So you can actually set up, as I just clicked it into a different screen here, you can set up the bank feeds, if you wish, to go directly to a certain bank. So the difference there being, instead of having to go and download a QBO file, this would actually make it to where you can click a button, have it update and pull that information in, which is very nice. So it's just a couple less clicks. So it would
There's like 3 different ways to connect. There's the web connect where you have to go find a file. There's a direct connect, which typically involves a fee with the bank to set that up, where it's a 2-way communication. You can send payments out of QuickBooks. And then there's what QuickBooks Online uses is the Express Connect connection. And some financial institutions will allow you to do it that way. Is it Chase and Capital One, or in your experience, have you seen?
They're expanding more
which
and more.
financial?
So, I mean, for a lot of the bank feeds, there's the whole idea of you go through the front door, which is using the username and password and your scraping data. But now, thanks to everybody getting on the same page of the importance of technology, they're now going through the back door and actually using API calls and the Express Connect. So you're getting a more consistent connection, better data. It's definitely the way of the future. We're going to see more and more of these institutions, banks and credit cards, starting to use more of that.
Gotcha.
I've got a couple questions. I've been monitoring the Q&A and it's crazy. It's a full-time job in here. So
that's why I asked you to join us, Carrie.
Thanks. I say you could never do this by yourself. Okay. So Helen Smith is asking, she said her rules are unstable in my QBO. Does anyone, I'm not expert.
I haven't experienced that myself with QBO where the rules are unstable, but keep in mind that the order in which the rules are in line there will absolutely change the way they respond. And I tend to find if you're finding a situation, something's not responding correctly, double check that all versus any. And I'm sure it'll be the same thing here as well. Check that first. Also, then take the rule, move it to the top, check and see if it works perfectly then. If it does, you've got a good rule, and then you just have to figure it out from there. But if you still have a challenge, reach out to me afterwards. I love bank feed problems. I live by them.
Here's some more. They keep rolling in, so hold on. So Michael is asking, well, Michael, this is a comment, so maybe you can give some feedback. He says, I prefer the way QBO allows you to make the headers smaller for the actual workspace. Is that something we can't do in this new feature?
So talking about this area at the top here.
Yeah.
That is a great feedback that I'm sure Intuit would love. I'll be happy to try to pass it on as best I can, but I'm sure they would love that feedback. So this would be collapsible and give you more workable environment. It's a great suggestion.
And if you recall, QBO didn't do that at first.
Correct.
So that was something that was added based on the feedback. So it's great that it's starting to look this way, and these are great feedbacks and call outs as well. And eventually those types of things should happen as we voice our concerns.
Okay, and this is a question, I think I know the answer, but since we're letting Matt lead this one, double check. So does American Express card allow to use bank feed feature?
Good. Okay, so I assume the question is, do we have the ability for like the direct connection? Because we've had so many difficulties with there's been a lot of companies where they pop up and don't work for a bit of time. I'd have to double check it. I think it's still a downloadable setup, so I don't know for sure.
All right, there's more. Every time I'll
go through and answer those in the background. That way, because I know there's so many amazing features.
Yeah, we've only talked about one major feature in 2021. So actually, let's go ahead and launch a poll, and then we can maybe address some of these extra questions that are coming in here.
Okay.
So oftentimes, what frequency is when you upgrade? Sometimes they'll leapfrog over 1 year. Sometimes they'll got to have the new version. What is your upgrade habits of your desktop clients? Do they wait until Intuit sunsets the services that are attached to it, or sometimes they'll just drive it into the ground? They don't use payroll, they don't use online banking, they don't use any of the services. They just use it as a glorified checkbook. I'm gonna drive this until maybe Windows upgrades and no longer supports
The
it.
windows fall off, basically.
Right. Exactly. My dad's PT Cruiser.
I would love to see from people in the comments to please comment, what is the oldest version of QuickBooks Desktop you still are actively using somehow for a client some way? I'd love to know what the oldest one they're actually using is.
That's a good thing. We had when I worked at Intuit, they had
2009.
QBO. They had a QBO accountant cloud ProAdvisor number that they reused. It was actually a registration number for Quicken 1999 Quicken. And people would call. We got calls for people trying to register Quicken 2000 and Quicken 1999. And yeah, some people were upset that we couldn't actually do that.
So real quickly, and you guys are wondering why they're switching over to this subscription-based thing. If you're still using, I think the oldest I saw was 2001 or 2003.
Yeah. Security, right? Is that the answer?
Wow. Yeah, it's
2008, 2013. I'm looking at these. I'm in shock. 2000. Okay, just trying to.
Right. So yeah, most folks only when necessary. So some of the things that we're talking about here are actually not
2007. I'm trying to find the oldest one. Keep going.
Yeah, some of the features that we're talking about here are actually included in other versions of QuickBooks. So that's another thing to call out to. That just these things that we're talking about here are just in 2021. So if they're going from 2018 to 2021, they're getting everything that's in those other versions as well. So something new in 2000.
I got a winner. 2001. Whoa, 97. 97. I've never seen that.
Wow. So new in 2021 is customer groups. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
I am, yes.
Okay. Okay. I was noticing that it wasn't flipping over to me being the speaker view, so I wondered if maybe there was a lag or delay or something.
Looks like everybody can hear you great. You're good.
Okay, great. Because I'd hate to be talking and nobody hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So new in 2021 is customer groups. This is a feature that leads to other services or other features, but it is a dynamic rule-based grouping based on various customer fields. So you can set up, groups for your sales reps or certain customer types. So if you have retail versus wholesale, you can set up groups to be able to make a dynamic grouping, and then you can do things with those groups. So you don't have to go back and make them a part of the group. You set up these rules, and then as you add customers or modify customers, they become part of these groups. And one of the things that you can actually do is send automated statements now. So you automatically email statements to your customer. Does not actually send those things, but it creates those statements. They can be reviewed, and you can create multiples based on those various different groups. So in the customer groups setup, you can set up multiple different groups. So maybe they're monthly versus biweekly, and then you can automate those statements inside of QuickBooks to automatically generate those statements, and then you mass email them out of your QuickBooks. Now, this is one of the features that is what took you so long. You can now create a customizable payment receipt. So as you're creating a customer payment, there is now a new template that can be customized just like every other template that's in QuickBooks to be able to email or send that out to your customer so that they have a receipt of payment. So you can put your logo on it and those types of things. In QuickBooks Payments, so when you have a payment payment enabled version of QuickBooks where you email out your invoices and they pay online. They can they've improved the auto matching of QuickBooks payments. A lot of times I've seen it on the Facebook group that it didn't actually share, or it didn't actually connect to the invoice. That has gotten some attention in 2021, but you know, you're going to need to see how this actually plays out.
This
Matt,
is definitely this functionality is one of the biggest benefits we've seen out of like the online environment. And just like anything else, it does require us to keep an eye on it and watch it to make sure things are connecting correctly. But hey, that's part of our job anyways. If it didn't exist before, we're still getting a major benefit of the majority of them that all connect very nicely. So this is great to see in desktop that it's able to have that like dual way connection and help make those links for you.
And the biggest thing is next day funding is now actually available in desktop. So, you know, because cash flow is so important these days, being able to have access to your funds next day, as opposed to, you know, waiting that 2 or up to 5 days with ACH is very important now. Now, there's some tools that come along with that have come along with the 2021 ride. Desktop Manager. So it's kind of like if you've ever used as an accountant the file manager for company files, but this is a consolidation of your installations of QuickBooks. So rather than going out to your campsite to find and download your versions of QuickBooks, you can download this Desktop Manager, and it connects to your account, and it will have easily accessible ways for you to download and install your versions, various versions of QuickBooks. Doesn't work with Point of Sale or Mac, so it's only the Windows-based versions of QuickBooks, but we provided a link to it here in the slides.
The one-time password one real quick, such a huge benefit, because the password thing was becoming a big difficulty with desktop, that if you had to, it would still ask you the security question that you'd have to create one, but you couldn't use it. You have to call and like, oh my goodness.
Right.
So it's great to see this tool hub.
Yeah, the tool hub here, you know, you had multiple and a hodgepodge of different tools, like the desktop, the file doctor, or, you know, there was actually a network nurse. That's what we called it internally. So all of the Intuit healthcare is now in one place, as well as the password reset, and then some other tools, the PDF, you know, those types of things. So you can just download the tool and be able to have access to that. So the clean installation issues, any prerequisite like .NET framework and those types of things that need to be installed as part of Windows that may or may not be there, you can make sure that they're accessible all in just in one place. So again, another link there for the tool hub in 2021. So now we're moving into the Plus subscriptions. So this is the desktop version where it is a subscription based. So this is the feature that is actually included with the Plus subscription. So you have to have a Plus subscription in order to utilize that. So we're going to hand this on over to Carrie, who's going to show us actually first what we're going to do is I'm going to share my phone. So,
and this is in QuickBooks Desktop subscription all the way. So we're telling you where it at least is. It's not on the one-time purchase. So
right.
Hey, a whole lot cheaper to do the subscription.
Exactly. So let me go ahead and launch.
But you know what the but is? The discount they offer is only year one. There's the reseller in me coming out. I can't help it.
This is a great example again of taking cloud technology and bringing it back down though, and making it available for people to use. So
right.
I know that we've experienced this price increase, but I'm sure everybody has to agree. There's absolute obvious like time and energy has gone into the development of this 2021 to enhance it with these new features.
To me, as far as putting while we're waiting for you to do this, for me, this is, I can't wait to really use this in our own office because we finally stopped worrying about attaching our receipts because it was so cumbersome. This is so much easier. So if it helps us attach his receipts and have them saved so we can get to them, we don't have to have some additional subscription. I think it's a huge game changer.
All right. Well, I'm having some difficulty with the
Just
trusting my computer.
Oh.
But if you have used the receipt capture in QBO, again, this is another one of those features that if you've used it and seen it in QBO, you know how to use it in desktop. So Carrie, if you want to share your screen so you can see the actual what it looks like in your version of desktop. Okay. But the whole idea is that you take a picture on your mobile device. There is now a QuickBooks Desktop app for just this feature, and I'm sure as new features are rolling themselves back in, there'll be other functionality that'll be associated with that. But right now for 2021, it's the receipt management.
So under your vendor menu, there's a new section called receipt management, but it's the magic of TV or Zoom. I'm going straight to it because sometimes Zoom kind of slows you down. We scanned in as we were playing with this 2 receipts, and there were a couple things that I thought were super, super neat about it. So one of them is when you hit it for review, select for review, it's like it's got some AI intelligence. It wants me to link it to something, but it went ahead and it figured out some things for us. Like it wrote the amount, it wrote the date, it wrote remember, I'm in desktop, so don't make fun of me. This has always been in QBO. I'm showing my I love desktop. So I think that the AI on it's really strong. There are a couple things to call out is that you can add a class to it. You can add a job, not a job. It has, a job, not just a customer. So you have to
for job costing, basically.
Right. It has to be job costing, which is powerful. When you do scan it in that we weren't able to show you, you can put notes in it. It was pretty good at figuring out the vendor. I thought that was pretty slick. And then I get to pick the account that it'll go into, obviously not bank account. And then up here, what's super neat about it is if I had connected it to a credit card, it's already sort of with the bank feeds and everything, it's trying its hardest to do the work for us.
Now, what these will do is it'll create the transaction for you, and then it will match then as the bank feeds come in. So it's just a way to add in the transactions and it also creates this as an attached transaction or attached picture so that you have now that proof of what it actually is if need be.
So a couple quick questions we've got, which are great questions on this. One of them is if you were in the desktop environment and you established these links, these connections, everything else, and you decided to go to QuickBooks Online, would these attachments be lost during that transfer, or will they actually go to the cloud as well?
Well, that's a really good question. I know that it's saved natively, and that's one of my, but I don't know if it'll actually travel its way to QBO, but the scan document is saved in your file. It's not living into it. Right, Dan?
Right.
It's not trapped. They've had other things like this where they're trapped into some subscription. This is not.
Yeah, it actually gets associated wherever your attachments are downloaded and stored in the document center. It will get saved there as well. So if you do make the journey to QBO, you can take all those attachments and upload them. They won't make the journey if you convert from desktop to online. Those attachments don't get automatically attached, but you can then take all of those attachments and upload them in the attachment section in QBO.
Now, one last nerdy type thing that I would like to check out is on the vendor area in QuickBooks Desktop. If you go and edit a vendor, you can assign a specific account to that vendor. I would love to know if that account would populate automatically then into that field whenever that's being selected, because now you can pull a receipt in, it recognizes the vendor name and categorizes it for you possibly.
That's a good
Yeah, that
question.
would be. I think in our playing around with it, Carrie, we didn't actually. It didn't create. I mean, it put that Stop and Shop as a vendor in there, but I don't remember if we
Okay,
actually
let's
had
see.
to
Yeah,
record
so
that or not.
it hasn't even added Stop and Shop, so we can,
And then the third one down there. Perfect. Yep.
so I'm just gonna do something real quick and then see, you know, that's an excellent call out. So I can go here to edit it. And because it created that vendor for me, it didn't know, it probably hadn't mapped it. So where's Stop and Shop? Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I just did it with capitals.
I'll play with it and I'll report back on the comments there or into the group itself, because that
It
could
could
be
be
kind of a
great
cool
feedback. If it's kind of glitchy, let's give that feedback to clean that up.
And
Is
if
it-
you have those receipts actually on your computer, you can just throw them in here, and it doesn't have to be done only on the mobile
Right.
mobile app. So if you have them already saved or scanned, you can drop them into the receipt management. It will then process them, and then you can then work with them here.
And like all features, I just want to call out too. I think it's always a good idea you can say, drink your own champagne or disgusting, eat your own dog food. See how it works for you. And then you can show that. And then, then you can show them this great feature. And this is why they need this version that you love and support. So there you go.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to
stop my share.
Next. Let's see here. There we are. Okay, so this is what the mobile app actually does look like when you do snap a picture, snap a photo. There was a photo and a picture at the same time.
And now we're seeing
screen. We're seeing another screen. Probably got all kind of bad stuff on it. I see my
one. Stop the share.
That's because you have a Mac.
That's the messy so one. There we go.
All right, there we are.
I mean, I'm looking at it.
You're looking at
it.
Carrie, are you logging in? OMG.
All right, so moving on to, so we're coming in for a landing, and the good news is that the other features are really high level type of features. So with the accountant edition, you can now batch delete sales orders. It's just an additional transaction type that you can now remove in bulk. Of course, these sales orders need to be not attached to an invoice, but why would you want to delete a sales order that is attached to an invoice? So that's in accountant edition. The enterprise, the only features the only version of enterprise that got any new features is the platinum edition, because they're all based on the advanced inventory. So with the groups, you have the ability to set up vendor groups. So data level permissions, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Landed costs had some changes, and requiring serial and lot numbers with regards to advanced inventory, and then being able to print barcode labels with prices on them, and then the alternate vendor column on the stock status report. So data level permission, this ties in with the customer and the vendor group. So enterprise only will have the vendor groups option. So when you're creating your custom permissions, which enterprise is unleashed data level security or security in general, you can now use those groups in combination with permission. So if you have sales reps, for example, and you create a group that only ties to a specific sales rep, you can now go into that person's individual roles and permissions and only give them access to their own customers. Really, that's what it boils down to with regards to the customer groups, vendor groups. So with AR and AP, you can now be you have a little bit more customization with regards to who can see what and do what with those customers and vendor groups.
that really could be a big thing as you get larger, obviously enterprise users, right? Larger companies. If they're dealing with anything EDI or big box companies, you want somebody to have like dedicated, these are your walls. We want you to stay within these, work on only these ones, and keep the blinders on everything else. So that's a really good add-on.
Yeah. Landed cost, which was a feature last year, you can now add and track that across cost of goods sold. So before, the recommended is to do that through the other current assets when you assign that that landed cost. If you prefer, you can assign that landed cost to the cost of goods sold now. Requiring serial and lot numbers. This is a game changer too. Is also a simple a simple thing, but it's kind of like the closing date, and putting a password on it. It's like when you're dealing with something that requires serial, when you're tracking serials or lot numbers, you want to prohibit somebody from creating that transaction, and now you can. So if you don't have those on the transactions, you can prohibit it from actually being recorded. Barcode labels, you can now print label prices on the barcodes. So if you're using Enterprise Platinum Edition, you can choose the item barcodes and print the price on it as well.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I just answered it, and then I think I was wrong, and I have to correct. The customer vendor level permissions that you just spoke of, I believe they're only in Platinum and Diamond, and it's designed for like salespeople and what those mid-level market customers have been requesting, right? Not silver.
Correct.
Okay, so I answered right. Sorry, Lisa. I answered yes, and then I answered wait.
Let's just double check. Yeah. So yeah, the only enhancements is for Platinum. Diamond is a new version, but it's really a bundled Platinum. So it's really just a matter of Diamond is inclusive of Platinum.
Diamond also gives you, it's kind of the new kid in the block. It gives you 40 users, et cetera, et cetera. So it has its place in certain places. We're just trying to figure out what that is.
But functionality wise, yeah, functionality wise, it is Platinum. It just has more.
Another question, when you went over the sales orders idea, and you batch close them if a client doesn't want to delete them?
That is just, that's part of the batch delete option. So just like anything else that's a batch deletable, that's all you can do in the batch delete is delete them. You can't batch. It's not a batch modify. It's a batch delete process. So launch to the last poll here. Did you learn something new today? Go ahead and answer that. Were there any other questions that filtered through, Matt or Carrie, that you saw?
Oh, I got it narrowed down to 4. Can you split those receipts down to 2 accounts? I think you can eventually, but when they're popping in, I only saw that one drop down, and then you could go edit it later.
Yeah, and I believe that was the same way in QBO when the receipts first came out, is that it was only one account that you can classify it with. But once the transaction's in there, then you can modify it however you prefer. So if you needed to split that out, you certainly could. Matt, are you gonna add
this
to
has
that?
definitely motivated me towards doing a video to kind of show the differences with the receipt capture, because there's a lot of excitement about receipt capture and what can and can't be done. Showing the functionality of that and even comparing it to like QBO. So if everybody will bear with me, just give me a little bit of time through the weekend or so, I'll put together a video and we can put it in our group, QB Community Live, but also share it into QB Power Hour as well for everybody.
Yeah, and congratulations, Matt. With the growth of your QB Community Live, both our group, the QB Power Hour group, and QB Community Live was listed on the top 5 groups, Facebook groups, to actually grow your business practice. So I've seen it grow in the last couple of years pretty tremendously, and to get that accolade, that's pretty awesome.
That award truly goes to the members. Linda and I we feel so fortunate. We were the ones that hit the power button to turn the thing on, but it's the actual group itself that is evolved it into what it is, but it is such an amazing honor. First thing I did is call my mom. Said, yay.
And your mom is actually part of the group, which is pretty awesome. Somebody was saying the auto magic is not working well for an auto matching and QB payments. I'm not sure if that is in 2021 that you're seeing that, or if that is actually in 2020. That has always been a concern, is that it just doesn't match right, or it comes in with that QB customer as it's downloaded. 2021 should be taking some attention on that as well. So
I have a confession to make. So as I was flying through the questions, because they were coming at me fast, I closed one out, but I said, I promise I'll bring it up. So I have to say it because it came in before these. Somebody asked, what's the difference between QuickBooks Accountant Edition and Enterprise? So I can answer that real fast. Yeah. So the QuickBooks Accountant comes in Premier and it comes in Enterprise. Those are two totally different products. Obviously, Premier is Enterprise is a step up. It includes accountant tools, but the new thing that's happened over the last so many years, I don't know the answer to that, is that you can actually log in, create a user in any customer's data file, which I recommend always logging in as yourself so they don't point the finger at you for messing everything up when you started. And you can access those same accountant tools, almost all of them, from a non-accountant edition. So over the years, they have made it so that only accountants can purchase those two products, Premier or Enterprise, that you get as a QuickBooks paid ProAdvisor. But now you can unlock them inside the program and not feel like you have to take their data file in-house. So I hope that answered. Whoever asked that, I apologize for closing you out and getting you ignored for a bit.
One other aspect of the accountant, the way the account comes about is you set up, and if you're doing the ProAdvisor for desktop, you get your accountant version, and as part of that subscription, you receive access to basically every type of QuickBooks desktop, enterprise, point of sale, Mac, depending on the subscription level for that year. So where that's really powerful is after you've been doing it for many, many years, you now have each iteration. So if you do have some of these people that are still using 2001, 2004, you can help them migrate up to current without having challenges.
Awesome. Again, go ahead.
The external accountant, I think that is Lisa's asking. I think it's the external accountant that you set up, and that allows you. What's nice about that is you don't run into the change your password every whatever days because of credit cards. So that's yes, that's the answer.
Yeah, it's always good to set up yourself as the external accountant, then you can use those accountant tools inside of non-accountant versions of QuickBooks. Well, Carrie and Matt, I want to thank you again for filling in on such short notice, and I really appreciate your insights into the desktop world, because it's not dead, right, Carrie?
No, it's not dead.
It's got a lot of life in it, and again, it's all about choosing the right tool for the job. So our job is to know what makes the differences between them, so our clients can have the best opportunity for success.
And I'll do a quick shout out to, it's very important to build a community, working with partners or whatever, because if you don't feel comfortable with desktop, find someone who does, and they might not like QBO. So work with other ProAdvisors, build your network, come up with some kind of something that works for you so you can feel like you can grow. Great. And don't turn away any business unless they're really nasty people, then it's okay.
Then kick them to the curb.
Yeah, or send them to Dan. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh. Wow.
I'm kidding.
Well, again,
I'm kidding.
Again, thank you both for joining us, and thank you everyone for joining us live. And we'll have the replays on the podcast and in the YouTube channel shortly later today. And we'll see you next week or next time on the Power Hour.